I'd like to introduce Father Anthony from St. Boniface Church for the invocation.
Good morning, everyone. Let us pray. Almighty, ever-living God, on this Memorial Day, we lift up to you our thoughts, minds, and hearts in prayer. We remember men and women of all faith, races, creeds, and religion who have loved this country to their death. We thank you for the gift of their lives. Let us never forget the magnitude of their sacrifice. Behind every headstone is a name. Behind every headstone is a date of birth. Behind every headstone is a date of death. Behind every flag is a family, a mother, a father, a son, a daughter. Let our gathering truly affect us. Let it hurt us if we do not truly understand and appreciate the meaning of their sacrifice. May their lives and sacrifice bear fruit in our daily efforts as citizens of this great land to work ever more tirelessly towards unity and being one, liberty, justice, and freedom for all. We make this humble prayer in your mighty name. Amen.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets crackle, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. Please be seated. Our first speaker this afternoon, or this morning, is the Vice Chair of the Board of Selectmen, Bob Ebersol. Good morning. America notes 3 days where we recognize those in the armed services. Armed Forces Day, held earlier this month,
was established in 1949 to honor Americans currently serving in the 5 military branches: the Army, the Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, and the Coast Guard, now consolidated on the Department of Defense. Veterans Day, which we observe on November 11th, honor those who have served in the armed forces. This was originally Armistice Day after World War I, until it was changed to Veterans Day in 1954. Today, Memorial Day, honor those who died while in military service. Originally called Decoration Day to honor those who died during the American Civil War, it was started first by women in federal cemeteries, then extended to all cemeteries. May 31st was originally the day, and legend has it that it was picked as there were no particular battles that occurred on that day. But others say it's because there were more flowers available for Memorial Day. In 1971, it was moved to the last Monday in May. Today, we come together to honor all those who have died in the service of the United States. This morning's program is a great collection of traditions that have come to symbolize how America marks Memorial Day. Earlier, the color guard raised the flag to the top of the staff and lowered it to half staff, where it will stay until 12 noon when it is raised back up. According to the United States Flag Code, it is lowered to remember those who gave their lives in the service of the country, and at noon it is raised by the living, who resolve that their sacrifice not be in vain. The national anthem, the words by Francis Scott Key witnessing the bombardment of Fort McHenry by the British in the War of 1812. The official use was recognized by the Navy in 1889 and by President Wilson in 1916. When we listen, we can only imagine what it must be like at that battle. Later we will be laying wreaths, and that is done in remembrance and to signify strength. And finally, TAPS was officially recognized by the United States Army in 1874 and arranged in its present form in 1862. Several sources note that this was played at lights out from 3 single, slow drum beats. We all grieve and remember, some very personal to us. My parents were Navy veterans of World War II and my grandfather in World War I. Or we remember those from Lunenburg who lived down the street or who were in a grade or 2 before us in school. Or some do not have a personal memory of someone who died, but still appreciate the efforts made by so many unknown to them. How we treat or remember someone when they are gone is an indication of how we think of someone still with us. Let us appreciate those who have died for our country and thank those with us now who have served, who are now serving. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I'd now like to introduce Scott Drumford, commander of the 253rd Cyberspace Engineering Installation Group in Otis, who together with Boy Scout Troop 1728 will lead us in a ceremony remembering our POWs and MIAs.
Good morning, and thank you for coming out today. Today we remember the over 1 million men and women who have given their life in protection of this country. With the Boy Scouts, we'd like to remember another small group of people. They're commonly referred to as POWs or MIAs, but we call them brothers. They're unable to be with us this morning, and so we remember them. I'd like to draw your attention to the table to my right. And let me explain the meaning of this table. The tablecloth is white. symbolizing the purity of their intentions when answering the call to serve this country. There's a single red rose that reminds us of the families and their loved ones and friends who keep the faith while waiting for their return. There's a red ribbon on the base symbolizing our continued uncertainty and hope for their return and determination to account for them. A slice of lemon reminds us of their bitter fate, captured or missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears of our missing and their families, who long for answers after decades of uncertainty. A lighted candle reflects the upward reach of their unconquerable spirit and our hope for their safe return. The glass is inverted. They cannot be here to toast with us this morning. The chair is empty. They are not here with us. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you. While we're here to remember our fallen, there's a few things I'd like to point out today and at this point in the program. One of the organizers of this event, who has helped us for the past several years, past last year, Larry Marshall. Larry was the leader of the Boy Scouts and very instrumental in helping us with this affair. I miss you, Larry. Also, I'd like to recognize Owen Parker. Owen is a Boy Scout. He's working towards his Eagle certification. As part of his Eagle project, he did a beautification project right here. The mulch and stones around the mulch, the benches, and the plaque on the last stone down there are part of Owen's project. And we thank you for contributing to our park. And finally, I got a phone call from Ernie's son this week. Ernie's a former selectman who was very involved with the Memorial Day services over the years. And while he's in Florida, he said his heart is still in Lunenburg and his heart is still with this ceremony, and he wanted to say hi. One of the things we do each year is to recognize our living veterans, especially our older living veterans. One who's not with us today is Arnie Rill. Arnie is the young man in the Marine uniform. He usually helps us raise the flags. And Arnie hurt his wrist and won't be with us today. But I'd like to ask all our other veterans to please stand. And thank you for your service. What we traditionally do is ask them to sit down by their age and end up with our oldest veteran. But to speed the process a little bit, I'll say if you're a veteran and you're above 75, would you please remain standing? Above 78. Above 80. Above 85. Above 86. 87. 88. 89. 90.
Hurry.
91.
He said hurry.
92. 93. I'm thrilled to have our guest speaker today with us, Charlie Valera, who's an author who you may have been seeing in our paper over the last 4 days, written the book My Father's War, Memories from our honored World War II soldiers. Charlie is a pilot, an entrepreneur, and a Lunenburg resident, and I'm very pleased to have him with us today, Charlie Valera.
Thank you. Good morning. Wow, what a crowd. This is great. As we started to say earlier, I think Bob mentioned, Memorial Day actually started sometime around 20 years before my own grandparents were born. Hard to believe. But back in May 30th, 1868, General John Logan proclaimed it as Decoration Day. And yes, it was a day of remembrance for those who have died in the service of the United States. It was a date chosen, again, because it was not the anniversary of any particular battle. So they thought maybe that would be a good day to not get confused with anything. On the first Decoration Day, General James Garfield made a speech at Arlington National Cemetery, and 5,000 participants decorated the graves of the 20,000 Union and Confederate soldiers that were buried there. Arlington National Cemetery now has the remains of over 400,000 soldiers. Sometime prior to World War I, actually in 1915, I believe, a woman named Moena Michael inspired by the poem called In Flanders Fields. She wrote a short poem inspiring her to wear the now popular red poppy flower during Memorial Day. I have mine here, and I'm sure everybody has them on. The poem is 4 short lines, and it reads, "We cherish too the poppy red that grows on fields where valor led. It seems to signal to the skies that blood of heroes never dies." 3 years ago, I started down a path to help us all honor our World War II veterans. It was a door I knew that needed to be opened, where we could all learn in great detail the sacrifices our veterans have truly made. I'm here to tell you there were no survivors. Oh sure, many soldiers lived through the war. They lived through it, but not unscathed. It has certainly changed them forever, in ways only they know. Battle scars, details of destruction, death, broken families, and the worst treatment our fellow man has ever seen humanly possible. They've seen it all. In the name of freedom and safety, they chose to fight literally for our freedoms. Men that willingly chose to fight for their mothers, little brothers, sisters, and neighbors. Then they learned to fight for their fellow soldiers. No longer was their goal just our freedom or to the flag. It was to live through today and keep their fellow soldiers alive to another day. No need to worry about tomorrow yet. It wasn't here. And for many, there would be no tomorrow. As hard as they fought, and as bad as they wanted to come home, many would have been left behind. Their fellow soldiers that would come home still had a job to do. To remember them when they were killed. To bring back their personal belongings from their lockers. How horrific that must have been for them. For their families to mourn over, to hold on to them a bit longer. Keepsakes for their families, and to honor them forever. Then when the smoke and dust finally settled, the greatest generation returned home without any fanfare. They married, found jobs, and raised families. And once again, protecting us from what they had recently witnessed by keeping these stories to themselves. Just amazing. The research I've chronicled has stories of our fathers, for some of you, your grandfathers, Or possibly it's just a nice old man who lives next door with the American flag waving from his front porch. These stories are the ones they should have told us. They could have told us, but chose not to. It didn't even matter if we asked. They wanted to close that door and keep the boogeyman away from us, hoping to forget the nightmares they witnessed as young men. I can now say that didn't work either. I was recently informed that one of the World War II veterans I interviewed had been diagnosed with PTSD at the age of 91. After more than 70 years of carrying the pain and burden he had witnessed, that's over 25,550 nights of dreams, of possible recollections of days he was trying to forget. You see, every year, as Memorial Day adds more veterans to its exclusive list, it's one less veteran we should have honored while they were alive. Like many of you, my dad has come and gone too, taking with him his own veteran stories from World War II. And maybe we should have pushed him for those stories, but it probably wouldn't have changed his mind. We closed that door pretty tight. Although I've been told that in the old days the veterans would gather at the local VFWs to share their stories and to drink to their lost friends. But I think it's equally important we honor them today, as well as their gravestones and stories in the future. These soldiers were not born to be soldiers. They were born like us, into parents that only wanted more for their children than they had. But I may not be telling you anything you haven't heard, but they have told me plenty I have never heard. I'd like to share with you some of the few short quotes from my interviews. I'll start with Lunenburg resident and World War II veteran Charlie Sanderson, who's sitting right here in the front. Thank you, Charlie. One day he said to me, "People don't know what it's like to be scared. When you can't see it, and you don't know where it's coming from, you get scared. Anyone who said they weren't scared is a damn liar." There was another resident who passed away this past December, Lunenburg resident Joe Caminello. He said, "Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. We were in formation. One plane was hit. The wing fell right off the plane. It was shot and folded right up. One of the guys was burned really badly and got thrown out of the ship. He was the only one. The B-24, you don't get out of it. That's the idea. If you're lucky, you make it. You had to be in a damn good position. You either had to get thrown out or something. You do carry the chutes. We'd see a few go down. The idea was to count them, see who's gone and who isn't. I don't know how I made it back. So many didn't." Another one from Leominster resident and recipient of a Purple Heart and a Distinguished Service Cross, World War II soldier Santo de Savo. He explained to me while talking about his Distinguished Service Cross, "We were pinned down and couldn't move. Something had to be done. They were in the woods and we were pinned down in a grape vineyard. We couldn't go anywhere until we stopped that machine gun. I never expected to get anything for it. It ain't why I did it. You know, a war's a war." Then the following day, we were able to move forward. The machine guns were gone. Another story from a B-17 World War II lower ball turret gunner from Fitchburg. His name is Laurie Rodio. One of the things he told me was, "I remember sitting in my turret on one mission, just rotating the turret up and down, around, just searching in my own thoughts, alone. Just the drone of the engines and the slipstream whisking around the turret and the intercom quiet. And in my mind, I thought I could hear the angels singing. It was distant, like a church choir, eerie indeed, but sort of peaceful at the same time. The thought passed in my head, I wonder if this is going to be my day." It wasn't at all upsetting. That was Christmas Eve, 1944. And then, another one. Fitchburg's World War II soldier from the Battle of the Bulge, George Pelletier, shared a letter to his wife with me, and in part, it said, excuse me, "So the boys I came over with in my platoon aren't coming back." He went on to say, "All through this, I've learned to realize a lot of things. I know what war is now. I've seen it. I've seen men die and maimed for life. I've seen homes destroyed, families all separated, poor, unfed little children. Now, when I get back home, I know it needs to be done, and no one is to cross me or any of these GIs who know all this. We owe a debt to our buddies, and we're going to see that what they wanted and dreamed about is accomplished." George is turning 92 years old in July. I was with him last week, and when I was there, he said, I didn't expect to live past 20. Amazing. Of the more than 24 veterans I interviewed over a 2-year period of time, 18 made it into my book. Of those, 15 have since passed away. We lose an average of 1 World War II veteran every 3 minutes, and we lose 22 veterans to suicide every day. Lost forever are their stories of courage, bravery, and love. When I was growing up, on Memorial Day, we would go to the cemetery, plant some fresh flowers, clean up the graves, and say a few prayers, and go home and have a cookout. I'd say for the most part, it's now just a day off from work, and maybe a day at the beach or just home relaxing. But during whatever you do today, at 3 p.m. local time, the National Moment of Remembrance, a resolution passed in December 2000, asks for all Americans to voluntarily and informally observe in their own way a moment of remembrance and respect, pausing from whatever they are doing for a moment of silence or listening to taps. Taps was always a tough one. From the voices of all the soldiers living and those that have died, we need to honor them with their deeds and with their words. Thank you. God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Charlie will be in the Senior Center afterwards if you want to talk to him and hear some more of his stories. Next on the agenda, we have the placing of the memorial wreath by Cub Scout Pack 1728. Thank you, gentlemen. Going to close our program playing at taps. Color guard. Thank you, everyone. You're welcome to join us in the Eagle House for coffee and pastries.
Thank you.